Beyond Synth 355.
You're listening to Beyond Synth Radio. Let's do this.
Coming up, Andy Last interviews the best artists in synthwave. Beyond Synth is next.
Hey there, welcome to the show. This is Beyond Synth. I am Andy Last. I host the show, and today I am chatting with Futurecop. This one is a long time coming. Of course, Futurecop has been around for a very long time in the synthwave scene, technically before it even was a scene. So it's always nice chatting with OGs of the scene, original gangsters. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So we'll be chatting with Futurecop in just a second. But before we do that, I have a few things to say and we'll get through them as quickly as possible. So number one, we got a few birthdays to do because next week's episode I think is already recorded. And I got to make sure I do the March birthdays, but thankfully there's only a few. So it'll take us 2 seconds, and do a quick thank you to my PayPals, because of course we've been doing the regular Patreon thank yous in the commercial breaks of Beyond Synth shows, but I don't think this year I've thanked the PayPals. So of course, people support Beyond Synth by going to patreon.com/BeyondSynth. New this year because every week is a different show and we've got the commercial breaks and stuff, so we thought it'd be fun to start using the patrons' names in the commercial breaks and stuff, and so that's what we've been doing, and it's been fun. But I would like to say thank you to my awesome PayPals, because of course some people support Beyond Synth using PayPal, which you can do by going to BeyondSynth.com and clicking the PayPal button. Awesome people like Timothy Warwick and Russell Nyes, Marcus Nord, Gustav Velicek, Jimmy Groon, Daniel Williams, Digital Dreams, Jersey, and Ross. And Jersey, I have been receiving your little inspirational synth quotes, so don't worry, those don't go unread. The key to immortality is first living a life filled with synthwave music. That is a quote from Synth Lee. Every time Jersey sends in a donation, he sends me a little quote. But obviously, thank you all so much for supporting the show. Sometimes I forget to read those names because, Patreon organizes things nicely, and PayPal, I have to do it myself. And organization is not one of my skills. And I would like to wish a happy birthday to all of my awesome Patreon supporters who have birthdays in March.
It's time for Beyond Synth birthdays. Now that's a game changer.
So, a very happy birthday to Waylon Kasky Geospatial, aka Kyle. We met him a few months ago on the Marco and Andy Power Hour. I don't know where Kyle is at this very moment. Perhaps he's serving a tour of duty somewhere. But I hope you had a lovely birthday, because that, of course, was March 7th, which means this is belated. But I hope you had a good one, and hopefully you get home and celebrate that birthday with your fiance and go shoot some guns. I'm assuming that's what you want to do on your birthday? I don't know. Anyway, happy birthday, dude. And then happy birthday on March 13th, which is either today, when this episode drops, or yesterday, if this episode is late, to Polar Wildcat Studios, aka Richard. Happy birthday to you, buddy. You're a cool guy. And I hope your birthday wishes come true. Much like Mr. Christopher Albert on March the 20th. So that's in a week. I hope you have an awesome birthday and keep on being cool. You're a cool guy, Christopher Albert. So you put on a fancy hat and you go out there and you celebrate your birthday. And thank you so much for supporting Beyond Synth. And finally, the awesome Ashley Keegan, who has her birthday at the end of the month, March the 28th. I'm only announcing it now because I'm probably going to forget. So happy birthday to you. It's very early, so I hope you're prepping. I'm sure you are. Gonna do something fabulous, and I hope you have a good one because you are cool. And of course, Ashley Keegan is Forged in Neon, which you can check out on all your social medias and stuff like that. And that is the birthday segment.
Have a happy birthday.
All right, so Futurecop. We're gonna go talk to him. Futurecop has a new album coming out in just a few days, so I thought we'd listen to one of the songs from that upcoming album, and then when the song is finished, we will be in conversation with Futurecop. So I would like to listen to this track, Facing the Past, off the upcoming Futurecop album, Between the Moon and Stars. So it's a cool track, and you're gonna dig it, so check it out. This is Futurecop with Facing the Past. Well, I am here now with Futurecop. How's it going, man?
Yeah, good. How you doing? You all right?
I'm doing all right. And so you are Manzur, correct?
Manzur, yeah.
Okay, but I was trying to get the pronunciation right, but you tell me there's actually an alternate pronunciation.
There's a lot of alternate pronunciation, but you got it. It's all good.
What's the nature of this name then?
Well, I'm Bengali, and it's a Bengali Muslim name, so it comes from those two things.
But did you grow up in England like your whole life?
Yeah. I was born here, so I was born in Manchester. So my parents are Bangladeshi. They're from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is quite a new country. It's 1971 it was made. So around that time, there was like a war. I don't want to get into all that stuff, but that's the time they came over here. So, and then, I was born in the 80s. That was it, yeah.
Do you have relatives over there? Like, do you ever go over there?
Yeah, sometimes. Every so often we go there, and I got like family there, extended family, stuff like that, yeah. I didn't go last year. The year before that I went. When I was growing up, my dad did a lot of business in like Southeast Asia, so we'd go a lot of places like Thailand, Malaysia, things like that. It's like really close to Bangladesh. So I grew up going to all these places all my life. I just came back from Thailand actually. I go into Asia like nearly every other year, yeah. My
dad is a big sort of world traveler, so when I was a kid, I would end up going on all these trips, and I think it was in grade... Was I in high? No, I was in grade like 7 or 8. I did a Southeast Asia trip.
Oh, cool.
It was just my dad and I, and we did Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Macau.
Oh, nice. Why did you like the most?
That's a good question. Thailand, I think. I feel like we spent the most time there. It was nice. It was really hot, but it was cool because that was around the time that the Mortal Kombat movie came out.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's cool.
So I was excited to go to like Ayutthaya and places like that because they filmed there, right?
Filmed there, yeah, wicked. That's cool.
So I saw the temples and that made me happy. I was like, oh, this is where like Shang Tsung fucking stole Liu Kang's brother's soul. Like, I know this place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice trip. It was funny because around that time I was very feminine looking.
Okay.
And I had like these like long bangs, and for whatever reason I got a lot of attention from people. Like
really?
I was reading my journal back, and I forgot how many people would like just stop me and like take my picture.
Really?
It was a really weird trip. I guess I had some sort of exotic look about me to these people because I was sort of like, I had light skin, but I had like dark eyes.
Yeah.
And like people would always just stop me like, can I take a picture? And like, it was just weird. Like I still to this day don't fully understand what was going on or like what they found interesting about me. But like, that was a weird thing. Hey, whatever. That was my trip to Thailand.
Must have had a good look, yeah.
I guess later on in life, I probably would have appreciated that more to go over to Thailand and be like, hey, all these like Thai ladies are like India. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But that ship has sailed for me. So, anyway, the point is this: we're talking to you.
All right.
So, you just came back from Thailand. What were you doing?
No, I just went for like a little holiday. I got for some friends there and things like that. So just met up with them. It was nice. It was hot. Like I came back to Manchester. It was freezing, but yeah, it was nice weather.
Shit, when I was there, and that was like 20 years ago, and I remember even then going like, wow, it is fucking hot here and humid, and I can't imagine in 20 years it's gotten colder, so.
But it's totally changed. I mean, I remember going as a kid, every so often when I go, it's just totally changing. Bangkok's just totally changing all the time. Even to this year, it's like different from like a few years ago I went. But still really hot. Like around this time it's okay. But when it gets to like after April, it's unbearable. Can't go. I don't know when you went, but it's unbearable after April.
I'm trying to think when we were there. We were there probably in winter, like our winter. So it would have been maybe like January, February, March in between there.
Yeah, they just have summer. That's their and then it's just our summertime in their place. It's like really hot, really. It's way too hot to go. But December, January, February, I think it's probably the best time.
I remember it just being really intense. Yeah, and also the city just felt so packed. Like it was just like, and there was like so many lanes of traffic and everything. It felt very sort of overwhelming in a way. Yeah. Especially for me, just coming like the biggest city, over here is like Toronto, and it's fairly sparse.
You know what it is? It's the thing about it I like is there's a bit of chaos. I mean, it's not so much now in Bangkok, but I kind of like it because it's quite colourful. It's just it's like out of your comfort zone, and then you just have to like in your own mind, it's like a way of like you can't control much. You just have to let things go. Like you see people taking over people here on the streets, and people getting really angry. Over there, like no one will have a straight face. If someone cuts you off, no one cares. Like just you know what I mean. So those kind of things. Sometimes it's quite good to like get away from like our kind of like rigid society and go somewhere just beautiful chaos.
Yeah. And it's always fun to get some noodles in a cart.
Yeah, exactly. The food is amazing. Like top. Amazing.
I wish I sort of appreciated that more when I was young, because I was still at that age where I wanted to eat familiar things. Yeah. So I would go to these other countries and try and find like the McDonald's.
Yeah.
And then you end up with like food poisoning and shit because I should have been eating the damn noodles, you know what I mean? Because I was getting people to cook burgers who didn't want to cook burgers, right? So
yeah, that's great. But this, they obviously have McDonald's, KFC. Their McDonald's is really good. Like they have fried chicken in there, and it's really crispy. Yeah. I don't know. In Manchester, you don't get that. You don't get fried chicken in McDonald's, and their fried chicken is amazing, unbelievable.
To be fair, I remember when we were in Singapore, the McDonald's was really good. I remember going like, "Wow, this is a fucking good McDonald's," and the pop was huge. Like the large pop was like the size of one of those fucking 7-Eleven like slushies. Like it was just huge. But that's a dumb memory to have of Singapore. It's like I think back to Singapore and I go like, "Hey, I had a good chicken sandwich there." Well, look, how about this? We'll get this thing started. We'll listen to some music. Then maybe we'll talk about music for a second. Cool. Sorry, I don't know if I talk about music on this show, but we're gonna go back in time because obviously you've been making music for quite a while,
long time,
and we'll talk about that because you're one of those those OGs that was sort of making things before this thing was even a scene.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
I was thinking we'd play Transformers. That's like an oldie.
Yep.
And so we'll play that and then we'll keep chatting. So this is Transformers by Futurecop. And that was Transformers by Futurecop. And I'm here right now with Futurecop, Manzur, just talking about Thailand and...
McDonald's.
Yeah. So, first of all, why'd you call yourself Futurecop with an exclamation mark?
Oh gosh, I knew it. Everyone asked me that. Right, so basically, you have to
don't tell me. Don't tell me that.
I'll tell you. Because just to clear everything up. So you have to rewind when we first started. So it was me and my friend Pete. We properly started the band around 2006. To be honest with you, I mean, we didn't release anything for years, but 2006. I don't know if you remember, but there were bands like Hadouken, they had exclamation mark. Panic at the Disco, they had an exclamation mark. And it was just like weird names. So they had like the Klaxons, New Rave, and there was all this kind of funky stuff going on. We were very young. So we wanted to have a really funny, weird name. So we came up with Futurecop with an exclamation mark. Because at that time, it was just like, oh, it's really cool. I mean, we were just out there to make like fun music. So we never really thought it's going to last so long. But, you know, at that time, it was always like indie dance music that was big. So it was indie dance, goes into clubs, and we'd go there, we'd play DJs. And we'd had this idea like, okay, we finished university and now we can just do this kind of music thing, and we'll just go out and we'll get paid to go DJing. You know, we just, you know, like when you're young, you have this kind of idea. So we thought, oh yeah, Futurecop. And at that time, you know, there were bands like Justice and Ed Banger Crew. They had funny names. So that's where it came from.
Wait, who is Pete?
So Pete and me, we started the band years that time. So he was like my friend since I was a teenager. And so we used to go out a lot. We used to go out, watch bands, and like that indie dance thing we really got into. Like it started with the kind of indie stuff, Libertines, and it slowly went into like MGMT, all that stuff in between. We just really into it. And there was this one guy who was more into the dance scene. He was called Milo. And he did an interview we watched, and it was about how he made music. So at that time, before this, I don't know if you remember, like electronic production, whether it's Daft Punk or all that, you know, those kind of trancey stuff, it was like quite far away from us. Like to produce something like that, you just think, how on earth, you know, you must have studios, you must have all sorts. So it was far away from us. But slowly, when Milo and all these kind of other bands that did a kind of DIY kind of setup, we listened to the interviews, and one of them, the specific one was Milo, and he explained like how he didn't have knowledge about music. He just got this program called Reason, and he made these songs, and he just and all this. And we're like, all right, we could do something here. We could do something quite cool. So we got that program from Reason. We started making music, you know, what is it, like just sending back and forward. But our whole thing was like the 80s. So we were both born in the 80s, but we don't remember it as much. But it made us like look into other songs that from the 80s, get some synths out there, because this kind of Reason program, all they had was like synths. So we thought, okay, look, we can do something here. I know it's, we watched lots of films and stuff like that, and we created like this sound. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it so it's dancey. So we put like drums in there, and our influence from the drum side was more like disco-y, like Justice, the new disco kind of, all that kind of stuff was going on. And then that was it. We just kept posting it on MySpace, and that time blogs and stuff, we kept sending it to blogs. And I think Transformers was one of the first ever songs we ever made, actually. And then after that, we got noticed by like some managers and started getting gigs. I think our first ever gig was in London, then Cologne, and then we ended up in Australia. It was like, that's how quick it was those days.
Right, okay. So where is Pete?
So Pete, basically, a few years ago, then I decided to go solos, because he basically got into more of politics, and he's a writer now, and he's into politics, and he had a family and stuff. So this is where, you know, there's a time where I like decided I wanted to retire. I don't know, you know, about everyone kind of knows. So there's that time when I decided, okay, since I'm doing the music now myself, I thought of changing the brand. So changing Futurecop to something else. And I was making music was a bit different to like what Futurecop was. So that's when I decided like maybe I should like think of doing something else, like not putting it under Futurecop, under the umbrella of Futurecop. And I think the more I started making music, the more I realized, but the main thing behind it all was like, I wonder what the fans of Futurecop would think about this music. Then I thought like I might as well just keep Futurecop, because every song I made sounded like it's Futurecop, and I just wanted to know how fans thought. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to come back.
Not to make fun, but it is sort of a trope in the synthwave scene when artists will retire and then come back like 4 months later. So are you saying then when you announced that your intention was never to stop making music, it was just that you were just going to continue making music, but just as a different thing, and you thought you would just retire the Futurecop name? Yeah. Okay.
If you listen to Return of Alvagrath, that album, it's quite different to like the movie album or which the albums come before. And I started doing music that was a bit more different. What I felt was a bit different. Maybe Pete wasn't there to influence me to make it more dancier or, you know, more pop or something. But it just had a more atmospheric kind of ambience to it. Then I was thinking, okay, maybe if I release this, I'm losing what Futurecop was. you know what I mean, what it is, because it doesn't sound like what we started off with. So then that's when I decided, okay, I wasn't going to stop music, but I'm going to make something under my name. It was actually just going to be under my name, actually, to be honest with you. But then I think what happened is the more I made music, the more I realized that it sounded still like Futurecop. The feeling of it was still Futurecop. And all I could think of is, Futurecop fans would love this. Then I was thinking, that's when I decided, like, what's the point of doing another? Because it does actually still sound. And that's when that album, then few of the songs came into Voltrana, and a lot of it came into the latest album.
This is something that comes up on the show quite a bit when we talk about the music, because my point of view is, if it's the same artist making the music, like the actual person, usually I prefer they just keep the name, like keep making music under the same name, unless it's so wildly different. Because I know, like, even within the synthwave scene, there were a lot of artists who would like, oh, I'm doing a synthwave thing, and like, oh, now this is a dark synth thing, so I'm going to call it a different name. And it's already confusing enough for me to remember who everybody is, right? I've got like a spreadsheet because like I forget everything.
Yeah.
And then there's this point where I'm like, dude, like, you know, some of my favorite bands, you know, like Depeche Mode or whatever is an example I always use, where their sound evolved over these decades and changed, and they've got albums that sound completely different than other ones, but they're still Depeche Mode because at the heart of it, it's still the same writer and same singers and stuff. So there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
you know?
you're right.
Like if it's
totally right. I mean, I think it is like involvement. I'll give you an example. So when we did the NASA track, did quite well for us years ago. It was actually a song without drums. And I remember we made this in an apartment, and Pete was with me, and he was like, okay, why don't you put this bass line in? And this one, I was like, no, it's a really relaxing song. Why are you putting this in? And then he managed to convince me, and I put these faster drums, made it into like 125 BPM or something, put this bass line in. And yeah, I think when we released it, I mean, even Annie Mac from the BBC, she played it. So I was like, all right, it's cool. So like the thing is, what happened with our chemistry is he'd make it a bit more like a pop dance feel to it. So that's why, like, when I was doing my album without him, it just sounded like Futurecop. And you're right though, like, I guess it's still an evolving thing. So then I realized it doesn't matter if it has that bass line or if it has the drums. It's actually more about the feeling. And I think the Futurecop fans, they're also growing with me as well. So I was thinking, okay, I'll release it like that. And I released it, the album From Oceans Within, and yeah, a lot of people liked it. And I was like, oh, cool. I was quite nervous about it. I still send it to him. Like, I'm making an album now, and I just send it to him, and he tells me the like opinions and stuff. The next album I'm going to do is actually a lot more dancier, like a lot more dancier, poppier, a bit of a throwback to what it was before. So yeah.
Is that Pete's advice? Always just like, put some more drums in it.
I think it's his influence. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, look, let's listen to another song, and then we'll keep talking. I want to listen to, this is the track from Fairy Tales. You got lots of albums, so we're just going to fucking jump all over the place. This is a track I dug called Into Your Heart, featuring, is that Hunz? Is that how they say that?
Well, Hunz maybe, but I'm from Manchester, so it's Hunz.
Hunz. All right.
Hunz. Mancunian way of saying it.
All right, okay. Well, this is Into Your Heart featuring, I'm going to say it like that now, Hunz and Mosaik, and we'll be right back.
One step closer to open
right, and that was Into Your Hearts, featuring Hunz and Mosaik by Futurecop with an exclamation mark, and I'm here right now with Futurecop, aka Manzur, and we are talking about making music and Pete. So you're still close with Pete?
He's
just
still my best friend. Yeah.
How long were you friends with him for?
God, a long time, since I was 18, maybe something like that. Long time.
Yeah, it's nice having friends.
Yeah, it is.
Stupid. So then what? So in the early days then, because the context for me is like I started this show in 2013. You know, the synthwave scene had sort of been around for a little bit, but it definitely started to really like take off around that time.
Yeah.
And there began this sort of network of people working with each other and collaborations and stuff. But for you, in these sort of early days, like how did you go about meeting people?
Gosh.
And like getting these like collaborations together?
I mean, back then, like I'm saying, our first gig was 2007, and then 2008. 2009 we did a massive USA show so around that time it was a bit difficult. I mean, luckily synthwave, it's a really cool thing. I mean, it's a good community, everyone's working together, everyone kind of gets what's going on. That time it was hard to, I guess, put us where we were because mostly it was instrumental. It was kind of like poppy, you know, dancey but poppy, you know what I mean? Around that time as well, they were like I said, like Headbanger, Justice, those kind of things were quite big. So but we used to get gigs around that indie dance kind of scene, so we meet people through the indie dance scene. So we do gigs with Metronomy, we did gigs with all these kind of indie type bands. So I remember we talked to them through those channels. We did South by Southwest. You know, we'd be in a show where there'll be like indie music and really hard electro music, and then there'll be us. Sometimes it was quite daunting because there's one time I remember like we were playing in Sydney, and there's a band that came on, and you know, it was really like rough music. It was like electro, harsh, kind of like noisy kind of music, right? And I remember we were coming after him, and people were going crazy for him. Like, so people were going literally crazy. It was like going to see like a punk rock show. It was like a punk rock show, right? So he's DJing, and then we're going to go after us and start playing, I don't know, Star Worshipper and Transformers, and we're like, shit, what are we gonna do? It was like every time we had a gig, we were like, oh shit. And every time we had it, right, I'm telling you, it was good because there were people who were like, wow, that's so cool. What is that? Like, it won't be like people going crazy crap, you know, like moshing or anything obviously it's not moshing kind of music, but there would be like freaking hardcore fans in Sydney, like thousands of miles away. Like, it was just quite heartwarming. And then there will be people who would come to us and like, what kind of music is this? I mean, there was no synthwave, so you have to imagine there's no synthwave, it was just this. And slowly from that, we found other people who did it, like the Valerie crew. So then we were like, oh, there's some other people who do it in France. And then other people do it. And that's kind of like the community through that. So it was through MySpace, and then through like Facebook, and then like through indie people. And it was all that kind of mishmash. And yeah, that's the way we got like people to sing. I mean, people we got to sing on those times was pretty hard because of the style of music we do. But the second reason it was hard is because we weren't that good. Like, people don't realize we weren't that good. Like, I'm being honestly serious. I can tell you stories. There was like singers who wanted to sing on our show, on our track, and we would pretend that we were good. This is no joke. I'm not going to say who the singers are. We would pretend we were good and panic when we were together. Like, what do we do now? How do we put this together? Why doesn't it match together? We had no clue. So at that time, we had singers, but we didn't reach out too much for them. Just so you'll see at the beginning, there was a lot of instrumentals. Yeah. Not because we just loved it. I mean, we loved it. But second reason is because we just weren't that good at putting vocals together. We're really pants, and we'd like hide away and like, we're like, oh no, these really professional indie musicians, or what we're going to, you know. It was just like that. I think slowly though, obviously we got better. Even now I sometimes struggle, to be honest, with vocals, but at the beginning it was hard. It was really hard.
Before like the synthwave scene kind of formed, because it was more around like sort of 2011 when that kind of word starts sort of cropping up. So like before that time, then was it indie electronic? Is that what you would, if someone asked you what you did? Yeah,
it was like indie dance. We'd say it's like MGMT but without the vocals. Well, we just say that's the only way we can say it, because they're like, we're big fans of them. And it had a kind of poppy thing going on, and it was like the feeling of MGMT or Phoenix, but without the guitars and the vocals. But it was just the feeling. But we had a very specific thing because we were very much into the 80s. And when I mean the 80s, I mean 80s is like a whole decade. What we were into is like the nostalgic part of the 80s. There are some things that we got inspired by that we never watched when we were kids. So like, for example, there'll be like some films or TV shows that we'll rediscover, and it'll give us a sense of like, oh, we missed that when we were kids. We'll look at older people and realize, I wonder what they felt like when they were kids watching it. So it came from a feeling of like nostalgia. So there's a bit of like, it's kind of like uplifting, but then there's a bit of sadness as well because you've gotten older. Yeah. But it's like, that's where we like harness the kind of feeling into the music. And it's still to this day, it's that thing. So it's not technically 80s. It is like a soundtracky kind of vibe, but it's like that feeling of nostalgia, a rediscovery of nostalgia as well. So we're rediscovering ourselves through people's eyes or people how they see. So a lot of it in my family, like I see sometimes photos and I just wonder like how it felt like when they first, like my parents first met each other, the romance they had, just little things like that. And then we try to get that and then we put it into this production. And since the beginning, it was always like that. We talk a lot about stuff like that, like about our families and people we knew and how it was then and what they grew up with. And we like interview them indirectly, obviously, but we'll interview them like, oh, what films did you like? And they'll say, oh, like this. And we'd go out and our way and find that film to watch it. Stuff like that we used to do.
Obviously now, because the synthwave scene is a thing and in some ways has gone through like a lot of life cycle because now there's all these people who are within the synthwave scene inspired by the synthwave scene.
Yeah.
And it's understood now what synthwave and that sort of nostalgic scene is. So you see a lot of these tropes about like going to the arcade and Countach's and Lamborghinis and, like Knight Rider and Don Johnson, like there's all these things that are these sort of tropes of nostalgia. Yeah. And so it's interesting, I guess, talking to you because you were sort of having to do this before this was even a thing. That's why it's neat. The idea of you like doing research and like talking to people and sort of figuring things out, because I feel like now the path is sort of laid out for people. It's like, what is nostalgia? Oh, it's 80s cop movie tropes of the angry sergeant who's hand me your gun and your badge and, neon lights and shit. And it's like it's laid out for people now.
Laid out, yeah. It's really good. I mean, that whole community, the whole idea behind it, how it came about, it's amazing. Like, I don't think it's going to end. This is going to last for a long time because that kind of style of electronic music, it's not anywhere else, if you know what I mean. I mean, people try to make subgenres of it, but overall it is synthwave, and it's good to have like a name that you could put it under, so you can tell people, oh, like, I'm into synthwave, so you get the vibe of what you're into. So it's pretty good. I mean, like I said, back then there's no synthwave. I was just like, I had to say, like I said, MGMT without the vocals.
Yeah.
I couldn't say it was 80s music coming forward. People are like, what does that even mean? It's quite hard to explain. So it's really cool, like especially young people trying to be producers and make kind of music. They can go into like a kind of community. It's pretty cool. And they're really good as well, freaking hell. Some of them out there, living top producers out there. I'm like, when I listen to it, I'm like, freaking hell, what have I been doing all these years? I'm like, these guys are amazing.
Well, it's nice. I mean, I always loved retro synth sounds.
Yeah.
So that was just always a thing I loved. So like as soon as I discovered like the synthwave stuff, I was immediately, within seconds, I was like, I knew I wasn't going to make any. And I'm just like, dude, I got to do something, right? So that's when I started like interviewing people and stuff, because it was like, it's such a compelling form of music for me. Like when I listen to it, I like music that sort of like is very evocative. Makes you think of scenes and ideas and stuff like that, because it's the experimental aspect I liked of like when you listen to 80s synth music, because they're like, it's a new piece of gear, you know what I mean? It's like this new kit you get to fucking fool with and make noises with and stuff. It's neat. The days before presets and all that.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I mean, when you listen to like 80s music, someone told me something about the 80s. I don't know if it's true or not. People in the 60s, the kids of the 60s, I don't know if this is true. So because it was all about, in the 60s, everyone did a lot of acid and whatnot. And by the time that in the 80s, they started running companies. And that's why the 80s was so crazy, because the people who did acid they're running the music industry. They're running all. So that's why, like, even the music was just crazy. They're all like doing LSD in the 60s. I don't know if that's true or not, but someone told me that. When you watch the film, sometimes some of the films they're all wild.
Yeah, they are. The thing that I've always said about the 80s that I love is that even though that is when, like, the big sort of like the Hollywood machines start to churn out blockbusters and, there's movies being made by committees and you know what I mean? But at the same time, experimentation and like discovery, like, because obviously now movies are literally made with a formula, right? Like you go to a Marvel movie, you could probably count down to the minute when the action scene is going to be, when the joke is going to be, you know, because they've got it down to a science. But in the 80s, you would still have a movie where they're like, yeah, we think Howard the Duck is going to be a hit. You know what I mean?
You're right there. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you've got a good point.
So it still is like where they do want these movies to be hits and they're blockbusters, but they're still kind of figuring out like...
You're right. I didn't thought of it like that. Yeah, there's room to experiment there.
Yeah, and I think with synthesizers, it's the same kind of thing because it was like this new piece of technology and you make sounds. And so that's, you know, that's... Anyway, whatever. That's...
No, I never thought about it like that. That's actually a good point, yeah.
But I was about to say, speaking of good points, let's listen to a song. Because that's... How about this? We are going to listen to a song and we'll keep chatting.
Yeah.
I want to move forward. You mentioned it earlier, your album Return to Alvagraph. That's a tough one to say. Do you have a particular favorite track from that one?
I think my favorite would be like Echoes of Destiny, maybe.
Well, let's listen to that and then we'll keep chatting.
Cool.
This is Echoes of Destiny by Futurecop. All right, and that was Echoes of Destiny by Futurecop. off the album Return to Alvagrath. What is Alvagrath?
It's made up. So our first EP was The Unicorn and the Lost City of Alvagrath. We just wanted to make it as stupid as possible. Our first EP. So, but the whole idea was it was like a fantasy kind of film kind of style, you know, like it's the unicorn. So we made a kind of little story. It was only 3 tracks because that the first EP, The Unicorn and the Lost City of Alvagrath, was in 2008, and it was a record about the nostalgic part of the 80s. So I thought, okay, I'll make something that's like the nostalgic part of 2008. So that's Return to Alvagrath. There you go.
So if you were through this project kind of like discovering 80s things and stuff, like what was the actual stuff you were watching and you were consuming when you were growing up?
Oh, what I was watching when I was growing up, it was just like the standard, wasn't it? It was E.T., what was it, Back to the Future, and the number one thing that really influenced me was the Transformers 1986 movie. That was, I think, influenced me a lot to like create a sound. The film was like a big part of me when I was growing up as a kid, and then it was as an adult, I'd listen to the music again, and then like the synths and everything. It's pretty cool. Like, it's really nicely done. Even now, sometimes I still look back into the 80s. I mean, there's so much I can get. Now I'm looking at like I was watching like Hong Kong movies from the 80s, and I've never watched it before, but recently I watched A Better Tomorrow, and man, that was such an awesome film. Have you ever watched that?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It's sick. There's not just the soundtrack, but just the movie is sick. A Better Tomorrow, you gotta watch it.
All right, I'll put that on the list.
Sick.
My list just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Oh, honestly, it's amazing. I mean, the thing is, I keep because it's been so long, I have to go back, and I can't keep watching Transformers 1986 movie. So I'm like looking at I watch like a movie every day, I think, just to like rediscover things. And I watched that, and I was like, whoa, that is a sick movie with a sick soundtrack. So yeah.
All right, I'll check it out. Last time I watched Transformers the movie, I think like Transformers the movie does have a cool score.
Yeah.
I've always found the balance is a little weird in that film, like because like the score is cool, but then when it does like these weird, silly like the actual soundtrack, sometimes I don't always feel goes with what's going on. You know, like there's like the Weird Al bit.
Yeah.
Even though I do like Weird Al, like he's fun, but like that whole Dare to Be Stupid sequence is really goofy.
Yeah, it's goofy, yeah. It's like my childhood, I guess, that film. I think I watched it maybe far too much. Like I watched it on repeat maybe a few days. Something like that. It's not always the 80s. There's some things I've taken from the other decades, for so like there's this Field of Dreams, for example. That's one of my favorite movies. Really, it's from the 80s actually, yeah. Field of Dreams, but it's got a nice orchestral kind of soundtrack, but it's got a nice feeling to it. So sometimes it's not just the synth sound, sometimes I take it from that as well. As it evolved, I guess, Futurecop, I sometimes watch different types of films from different decades. I can take it from there. I guess it's like the feeling. If I had to explain it, it's like a feeling rather than the sounds, I guess.
What was always so interesting to me about this scene in the first place was that it's the sound that evokes nostalgia, but then when you actually take it apart, each individual element, you go like, well, there's nothing about this that's necessarily 80s, but for some reason when they're together, it gives you that weird sort of dreamlike nostalgic feeling. And that's something that I always just really loved about it. And there was so many, artists doing this. Although mind you, in 2013, it was a lot less. It was a lot more manageable for me back then. When like the synthwave Facebook group, it used to be Synthetics, and there was like, maybe like 200 members, and it was nice. And now there's like thousands, and they all have names like fucking Runway 81 and fucking Laser Night 92, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like they all have these sort of similar kind of names, and it's hard for me to keep track of everything. But whatever, it's like I guess that's my job. The thing with the Transformers though, like I always preferred, because when I grew up, like I used to watch the cartoon, like the show.
Yeah.
And the season 3 theme song is still, I think, my favorite iteration of that theme. I know everyone loves the movie one.
Yeah.
And the movie one is like sort of big, and it's got like the guitars and shit, but like the season 3 version of the theme is my favorite. It's very synthy, and it's got this background beat thing where it's like and like it sounds so cool. I've always loved that one.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
I didn't even know that one.
Yeah. Because they changed it every season. So there's the kind of the first season one. It's weird. It's almost like not even in time properly. Like they just recorded it live or something.
Yeah.
Maybe the budget wasn't too high or whatever. And then like they would change. But holy smokes, dude. I was you ever watch Tubi? It's like you can watch like movies and TV shows for free. It's like a streaming service.
Tubi?
Yeah, it's called Tubi, Tubi. I think they probably have it over in Europe as well. It's like Netflix, except you have to watch commercials, but it's free. Like you don't have to pay for it. Anyway, so they've got a lot of content on there and like a lot of shit from the 80s. It's kind of like if you went to the videos, like one of those like kind of sleazy video stores, you know, like with all the horror films in the back and stuff.
Yeah.
And the other day I was going through, there have been like so many iterations of Transformers, like over the years. Like there's like a new Transformers cartoon like every other year.
Yeah.
Some of them I've never even heard of before. Like it'll be like Transformers Generation X Multiverse. Well, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And each one has a version of the Transformers theme song.
Oh, really?
And some of them are fucking horrible. And there's like so many of them. Like the other day I was just flipping through watching Transformers, and I would just go to the next show and go like, what's the version of Transformers sound like in this show? And like, God, they just kept on getting worse and worse. Anyway, sorry. That's...
To be honest, I don't even follow it. You know that the 1986 Transformers, it's something that like I think triggered it off. But you know, I haven't even watched the film for years now. But it's like the catalyst that triggered the whole Futurecop thing. I had to find something, and it was through that. But maybe I should watch it again.
It's nice that the animation is a little bit better in the movie than it is in the TV show.
I still like it. The thing is, I just like it because it was my childhood, I guess. That's it.
But was that it? Like, was that like your favorite?
That was loads. I mean, I can't even think. I mean, the thing is, even throughout the process, I mean, I watch films all the time, and there's a certain type of feeling you get. It's like I incorporate that in my music. So for example, like I know how to play synths, right? But I'm crap at guitar. I could play a bit, but I could do synths. So when I have a feeling of like I want to make something, an inspiration from a movie, that's the only thing I know. So it ends up becoming through synths, if you know what I mean. So like I'd watch, say for example, like there's scenes in films that like really touches me, and that's when I get my inspiration. So things like almost like the film Almost Famous at the end, the scenes of like Shawshank Redemption. There's like these kind of, there's just certain types of parts of films that really touches me, and that's probably where I get my inspiration to like sit down and like, oh, I'm going to make something that I felt watching this film, and it just comes out as music with synthesizers. If that does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd watch like random films to like get that feeling. I'd watch a film and it'd be pants. I'm like, oh, I couldn't get that feeling. I'll watch another one, and then on one time you just get it. Like that film I said, I Better Tomorrow. I watched that a few months ago, and I got the feeling. Like I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. There's loads of films like that, and that's where I get my inspiration. I think mostly towards something that really touches me. It's like quite heartfelt, and that's how I put it into music. I'm just discovering it every day. Like every day I'm watching something. That's funny, that, isn't it? I'm just thinking about it. Yeah, every single day I'm watching a new movie to get this feeling. Yeah.
Well, it's good though. I mean, like it's a dumb thing to say, but I mean, like there is so many like actual great films, and I think sometimes whenever I'm down on movies, it's just because I just watched a whole bunch of mediocre kind of shit in a row. You know, I'll be watching like these like mediocre Star Wars TV shows and shit on Disney and stuff, and I'll be like, oh man, everything sucks now. It's just because I'm not watching like the special things. Yeah. I think I'm going to make a pledge now to just watch stuff that people say is good.
I'll tell you a good film I watched the other day that's good. It's a film called Not One Less. You have to watch it. Now, that is a cool film.
Not One Less.
I think it's, yeah, Not One Less. Oh my gosh.
Is there robots in it?
No, it's like a remote village in China. I can't say too much about it, but like it's like a really young teacher, and she's teaching like these kids, and one of the kids goes missing, and it's just like how determined she is to like try to find this kid. But it's so good. Like you go watch it, like that kind of film, even though it's got no synths and stuff, it's got probably some soundtrack. Like,
I love that we're always judging things on like
with synths, but it's like really inspires me to like make a song. Like this is a kind of film that will inspire me as well to make a song. But it's such a good film. You gotta watch it.
Well, that's the thing, because that's like the inspirational power of like good art. I think now there's the problem is, since I love sci-fi and I love superheroes and things like this, that there's been, nerd culture took over, and there's been this, I think the word is commodification or something like that. But, basically like everything is content now.
Yeah.
So there's less care put into things. And unfortunately, it's in the genre that I love, which is sci-fi and superheroes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I just end up watching a lot of stuff that just it doesn't move me in that same way. And then when I watch something good, then you're reinvigorated again. Like I'm always reinvigorated by a great film, and I guess I just have these weird expectations where I just go like, oh, but I want that film to have robots in it and like time travel and stuff. And sometimes it's just like, no, maybe you just gotta fucking watch like just a really good drama. You know what I mean? Like, and then this will reinvigorate you because it's a good movie as opposed to, having robots. Let's move ahead here to where should we go? Let's go to Voltrana. How about that?
Yeah, cool.
There's a nice song in here featuring Parallels, which is good. It's called We Belong.
Oh.
And let's listen to that. And that was We Belong featuring Parallels by Futurecop. And I'm here right now with Futurecop Manzur talking about watching good movies and Transformers, and Milo explained that he used Reason to make music, and then you're like, I'm gonna do that too, me and Pete.
Yeah. You know, and that Reason, the program we bought was like not an official one. I hope they don't listen to this, but yeah, it was pirated or something. Someone gave me a CD.
So it sounds like you didn't buy it then.
I didn't buy it, no.
Well, you just said the one we bought was on...
I know, I just remembered. No, you just remember these things, those silly things you do as a kid. Like,
oh no, I used to do that all that. Like, no, there's no shame in it. I mean, I feel like at one point I bought FL Studio just because I always had like a pirated version for like 10 years or something, since like the very first one. I'm like, you know what, I'll buy it, why not? It was actually a nice purchase to have because I'll fool around with it occasionally, and like it's like lifelong updates for that program. So that was pretty good. And After Effects I used to use a lot, and I pirated it until one day I did buy it, and it was like $1,000.
wow.
And that was like, okay, I'll do it because I was working, so like I was using it all the time, like for work. And I just thought, okay, fine, I'll throw them a bone because it was a very useful product. But now you got to be part of the Creative Cloud, the Adobe Creative Cloud, and you got to give them like fucking $70 a month. Which I guess is maybe better. I don't know, because before the Creative Cloud, it cost, if you wanted the fucking master suite of Adobe, it was like $2,500. That's insane.
I mean, if you're starting out, I shouldn't like encourage this, but try and make music and get programs anywhere possible, just to like figure out if you really like it. But once you get into it, I mean, it's all right. You have to put this kind of investment into this. Yeah.
See, you're a good guy. Yeah. I know where you're. Manzur is an honorable man.
You have to, because then it's like, it makes you feel good, isn't it? Like, oh, I'm actually now in the music industry. I should like invest in this, and do this, I should do that kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
No, I get it. Who makes the music videos? The Futurecop music videos?
There's quite a few. I mean, depends. Which ones?
I don't know, just in general. What about this one? We Belong. That was an interesting one, right?
Oh, that one, yeah. I knew a girl, and she went back to India, and they have a video production. Very interesting, that video, isn't it? And luckily her sister had a production company. They had like a film made, and I said, I've got this song, can I use this? It's their copyright, so can I use this? And then and then they all agreed, and I made this really cool video. And the whole Voltrana, I got quite into like some Eastern philosophy and all that kind of stuff to like get some kind of idea about what the album concept would be. And luckily that came through, and everything came in line, and it just happened like that. It started off with that video. Yeah, cool video. That
was an interesting time too, because there was a few videos that were put out on New Retrowave's channel, which kind of pissed me off a bit, but it sort of showed like the kind of the shitty side of the synthwave scene, because there's some people have very specific ideas of like what is meant to accompany music like this. It wasn't just your video, it was also, there was like an Arcade Hide one as well, that it was weird. They would be like these weird triggers for people, and they would get upset because like, obviously this video is not following like some blonde lady in a bikini next to a fucking sunset or whatever, right? It was showing these kids, it was in India, and it was like sort of following this thing. And I don't really consider myself like a super woke guy, but I'm not like anti-woke either. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are very sensitive now. It's like the second something happens and they feel like it's like some diversity thing or something. And that was like, well, like a lot of the comments seem to be like on this video. I think New Retrowave eventually shut them off.
Yeah, I remember, I got that from that video as well, I remember. But at the end of the day, it's my expression, and I'm not doing it for any political, I'm not doing it so, this is a new angle you can see in synthwave. It's just like, this is my project and this is how I'm presenting it to you. I'm not here to like impress everyone. It's just like, I'm just expressing it. It's just similar like how I began, like you express it, people like it, they like it. If they're not, there's nothing you can do, because it's like, I have to express it. I can't just do it the way you think, because there's maybe thousands of you. So I got to just present it my way. And I hopefully, maybe 50% will hate it, but I know, fingers crossed, 50% would absolutely love it. So if I just did it for everybody, I don't think people might like it, but I don't think I'll reach that audience that will think, wow, that was something special, if you know what I mean.
Well, see, because I'm always appreciative of anyone who tries something different or does something new, and I think around this video in particular, it frustrated me a bit, the sort of reaction, only because to me it was like, what I love about this sort of music is it's kind of universal. and you don't have to exist in such rigid boundaries that like, well, you play this music, so you have to have a fucking 80s cop and a guy with a mullet and all this stuff. And it was interesting just seeing that sort of music juxtaposed with like these images of like, you know, these kids in India just sort of like going about their day and stuff. And there's just people right now online who, they have their backs up to like any time they feel like there's some like diversity thing, like they become immediately defensive, even if that's not.
It's not what
the intention. Like you're not going out there going like, "Hey, look at my super woke video." It's like,
I'm not doing it at all. Listen, you don't. I really don't care about all that stuff. But all I care about, I've got, you know, it's just like my expression. So this video, it was nothing to do with anything. It was just to do with that song, the idea of the album. My friend I had, she could make this really sick video. It's going to be in India. Like, if it was someone in my position, they're going to be, oh no, it's all right, I won't do it. Like, of course you're going to do it. It's like a sick idea. But like, the whole reason I think people are, it's like a control kind of thing. So they want to control because they love it so much. They love synthwave. So in a way, you can see the positive of it. Like, people love that scene so much that they will like do it like that. But I can guarantee you, a few years later, people change. Like, everything changes. A few years later, they'll change their mind. They'll be like, actually, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's what it tends to happen all the time. But the reason I think maybe people are really, they get a bit fidgety or, oh no, that's not synthwave. I think it shows that they really care and love it, but they need to realize, like, to love something, just like if you have a friend or you have like a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever it is, you gotta let them go a bit. You gotta let them just do what they gotta do. You know what I mean? You can't just use synthwave and make it into like, oh, it's mine. Like, that's not gonna work, because that's not love. You're just like grabbing it and protecting it too much. You gotta like sometimes let it go and, you know, see how it goes about, and then see how it progresses in life and see how it grows. I think that's probably the best way to look at it.
Well, also too, since there's so much, for me personally, I'm always going to gravitate towards people who are trying to do new things. I mean, that's also the magic, is when you see someone who sort of does something that's sort of, it's why I loved synthwave in the first place, that it was partially familiar and partially new.
Yeah.
And so you're listening to this stuff that's like, it's evoking nostalgia, but it's new music.
It's new.
Like, I'm not listening to a song from the 80s, I'm listening to a song from now, but it's doing this thing. You know, I feel like the best artists in the synthwave scene do that, where I listen to a song, I'm like, oh, this is new and fresh, and it's still kind of embodying like the aspects of synthwave. And so in that regard, people will experiment, and, you know, like some things won't work and some things will. And that always has to be, for me anyways, like, I always have to acknowledge that when people are doing it. And so when I see people get really defensive about what it should and shouldn't be, and people saying rules and like, it's not synthwave if you're not using this BPM or you're not using this instrument, it's like, well, then fuck off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at some point, you know, we're probably 3 weeks away from AI generating this music anyways. So like,
that's probably true. Yeah, you're right.
Just wait for that. Go into the fucking generator, type in like Mitch Murder, but a song about airplanes, and you'll fucking get a track.
That's a good point, that. Yeah, you never know. Like, see that We Belong track, if you really delve deep into it, right, it's about these kids, right? So it's a bit like Stand By Me, but it's in India. And it's about, I mean, there's like similarities if they really want to see it in that way. But it don't matter. Like, at the end of the day, an artist is gonna just express what they're gonna express. And sometimes people don't like it. When I was a kid, you know Korn, right? The band.
Yeah.
Korn, obviously you would know. But
I know the food.
The lead singer, Jonathan Davis, he said something it stuck with me for the rest of my life. He said that when you put something out there, you don't want everybody to just like it. When you put something out there, you want 50% to love it and so 50% to hate it, because then that love is more important. I remember it stuck with me, that, and I was like, oh, everything I did, you know, you gotta express the way you express. People will hate you, but the other 50% don't deny that. Don't forget them. They love you. Forget about just pleasing everybody. They're just gonna like you.
I'm working on a ratio of 1% love for the stuff that I put out there.
No, I'm sure.
And then 90% just going like, what the fuck is this?
No, I'm sure they love it.
Well, see, I like your positive attitude. That's good.
Yeah. Even these fans of Synthwave, they just love the scene. The only way you can see it is they just love it so much.
Yeah.
That's why they want to hold on to it. It's not that. It's not actually that bad of a thing. If you really think about it, that's why they do it.
Sometimes, though, I wonder, though, if there's a slight... Well, this would be like reading too much into it. Like, if there's something slightly unhealthy about it, like if it's like really about the nostalgia because they just don't want to be living in this time, and like it's very important to transport themselves back to like...
That's true.
Like those football players who are like all fat now, but they keep on thinking the best time in their life was like 2 years in high school where they were like the coolest person.
You know what? You got a good point there. It's a really good point. No, I'm not kidding you, right? You know, when I was younger, when I used to do music, I used to think, oh, I love music. I'm going to escape into my music and yeah, everything's going to be fine, right? But now the way I look at it is like, you do music to escape, but that's not necessarily a good thing. You got to come back to like what it is now, like the present moment. But in doing that, you got to have like a bit of a balance. You got to have like that side and that side. You can't just live in the past. But what I'm saying is, you gotta have to know where you came from, if you know what I mean. Like, so say, like, as a kid, there are some certain feelings you had that it's quite good if you can understand like where it came from. Heartfelt feelings, you know, whether it's to your family or your friends or something. And then obviously there's lots of bad things, but there's some things that you can take out of it, but you can't just live in it, because right now is the present moment. So even when I do music, I can't just live in it. I have to live in right now. Like I gotta have that balance. Without that balance, it's like those, what is it? What did you say? The footballers or something?
Yeah,
like,
well, that's
just living in the past. You can't do that. You can't like, but we're all human. Majority of humans, they do sometimes look at the past or the future and stuff like that. But to know like in your private life, to like how to balance it, it's quite important, I think. Because if I was just doing Futurecop music all day long, yeah, I'd probably like come back into real society and just be like hiding in a corner.
Yeah.
I just won't be able to survive. I'd be like, what is this place?
Well, look, let's listen to another song here. Let's move forward.
All right.
I got, there's a nice instrumental here from Oceans Within.
All right, cool.
And there's a track called When Sunrise, which I dig.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'd like to listen to.
I'm singing to my own song. How sad is that? Wicked track. Made it.
Well, let's listen to that, and then we'll keep chatting. This is When Sunrise by Futurecop. right, and that was Futurecop with the track When Sunrise. And I'm here with Futurecop right now, Manzur, talking about What are we talking about here?
You bought a lot of stuff out of me.
Yeah.
Like, you are very good. Like you're a good interviewer. I'm just talking to you. I'm just saying everything. I'm expressing everything.
I consider this show not really as much of a interview as I do a conversation. It's become my social. I used to talk on the phone a lot when I was young, and in recent years, I'm selfishly getting that same from just chatting to musicians on this show. This would have been my phone call to my buddy or something.
No, it sounds like that, yeah.
That's why I think maybe I gravitated a lot to this scene, because we all have kind of similar cultural touchstones, I guess, the movies and the music and stuff, and then the nostalgia, because I feel like sometimes when I really don't connect with people, it's usually just because I just don't understand their cultural references. You know what I mean? It's like talking to a young person and they're talking to you about shit where it's like, oh, did you see this fucking trend on TikTok? I'm like, no! Fuck you. Anyway.
I was wicked, yeah.
Well, what do you do for fun then? Are you watching movies all the time? Do you play games? What do you do?
I don't really play games that much, but the one game I'm playing is the new Ninja Turtles one.
Shredder's Revenge?
Yeah, I was playing that, yeah. I don't even play that game that much, but I was playing that. It's really good. But yeah, otherwise I do I do gym a lot, kung fu.
What?
I do yoga.
Kung fu?
I do kung fu, yeah.
Are you substituting a different word, or do you actually mean literally kung fu?
What did I say? Kung fu?
Yeah, you said kung fu.
Kung fu?
Yeah.
Is it my accent?
Usually now everyone's always like, oh, I'm into mixed martial arts, or I'm into fucking jujitsu or whatever. I've not heard anyone ever say literally kung fu.
Oh no, I'm really into kung fu. I do a bit of yoga, but really into kung fu. A lot into gym and stuff like that. And what else? I don't know.
Wait, hold on here. You go to kung fu classes and stuff?
Classes, yeah.
Okay,
what? I don't get.
Okay, the reason why I'm laughing is in the present day, in the year 2023.
Yeah.
People, it's cool to say oh, they do fucking jujitsu is big, even karate, but kung fu is a term I never hear used.
I like there's a history about kung fu. I just really like it, how it started, how the Shaolin kung fu happened. And in Manchester, there's a place that does it. And then years ago, I started it, and yeah, I just carried on. I just really like it. Just like doing it. I don't know how to explain it. Kung fu, isn't it popular? I thought it was quite popular.
No, it's not that it's not popular. It's that when we say the word kung fu, that's usually a catch-all term. If you see a movie like The Matrix or something, it's oh, it's one of them kung fu films. You say the word kung fu as a sort of placeholder for just general karate type action or whatever.
Oh, no.
But I never hear anyone say hey, I'm in a kung fu class. But obviously it must exist.
Yeah.
What's the ethos of kung fu then? Is it another one of those defensive ones where it's you do not kill, or do you learn to kick people in the neck, or what?
No, kung fu is so the one I do is actually Shaolin kung fu. So basically, it could never be an Olympic sport, but it's really street fighting. So it's kind of whole purpose of it was street fighting back in the day. But there's a spiritual aspect of it as well. So I don't know, I don't want to bore you, but it's this Buddhist spiritual aspect of this monk going from India, finding a place in China, recreating Chan, and turned out to be Zen, and recreating kung fu. It basically, Shaolin kung fu was the first institutionalized martial art form. There's other kind of art form, but this person is called a Bodhidharma. He created a Chan Buddhism or Zen Buddhism together with basically it was Buddhism plus Taoism, and he created a philosophy, plus he created this fighting style. There's also the meditation part of it, and then there's also the Qigong style of it. So I just like the whole idea about it, the history of it, and when I'm doing it, I just feel really good about it. So that's the whole thing.
When did they teach you to throw the yoga flame? Does that happen?
No, I'm still waiting for that. That's why I'm doing it. I just want to do the yoga flame, yeah. I'm just waiting for it. It's been years. I might have to tell him. Listen, when is this Hadouken going to happen? Yeah.
So then, wait, so kung fu, so is kung fu this is a weekly thing? Are you there all the time?
Weekly thing. You're so interested about this. I don't know. I just thought it's a thing.
I don't know anybody else.
Really?
I've not met anybody else who's ever told me, hey, I do kung fu.
Really?
Yeah.
It's big. It's massive, isn't it? I don't know.
Well, it's not that it's not big. It's just that no one I talk to ever says that to me.
I don't know. I didn't even think it was a big thing, but yeah. No, I just really enjoy it.
This is all it's going to say in the description of this episode. It'll just be
just about kung fu, isn't it? I'm just
promoting. It's just Andy chats with Futurecop about kung fu.
That's all we do. We're just promoting kung fu.
Yeah, kung fu and pirating music software.
Living out, yeah. Oh man.
Well, that's good though, because that must mean you're in shape. I'm not in shape, so I'm always excited when other people are. I feel good for them.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I try my best. Try my best, yeah.
So then in Kung Fu though, like, do you learn like offensive moves?
Yeah, offensive, yeah. Offensive, like defensive, grappling, yeah. There's like different forms and things you have to learn, like by memory and stuff like that. It's just like a lot of practicing. You keep doing forms, and so the more you practice in any circumstance, something happens, it's going to be like second nature. So it's a lot of just like repetition of like learning forms. That's all we do actually. There is an element of like understanding like how other people's body movements is, so you kind of understand like how their body movement works and, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just like a really cool story, especially Shaolin Kung Fu, how it came about. It's kind of like an interesting story behind it. So when I do Kung Fu, I do feel like it's part of a little bit of history. So
yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like it's something from so long ago that I'm still doing, which is quite good. It was quite spiritual in a weird way. I don't know. I don't do it to like start fights or anything. I just do it more to, you know, I wouldn't do it like, but I just do it more because like a good exercise. But second of all, it's just got this aspect of history that I feel like I'm quite part of. So it makes me feel quite good. So.
Yeah, see, if I was doing Kung Fu, I'd be disappointed that the sound effects didn't sound like the movie. You know, like when you watch like the old 70s movies and it's all like, whoosh, like every kick sound just sounds like a fucking, like a piece of wood snapping.
Yeah, no, not gonna happen.
That's my favorite part is, actually they do have a whole shitload of Kung Fu movies and stuff on Tubi, to bring Tubi back into it. Because I was flipping through a whole bunch and I love like, there's basically like 3 sound effects that they just use in like all of those movies. Like there's just the 3, there's like this really sharp snap sound. That's like the kick, and then like there's the same sound for when they're whooshing their hands around, the whoosh, 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 it's like the same one. And
I tell you know what film you should watch for the best Kung Fu film?
All right.
The 36th Chamber of Shaolin. Trust me, you're gonna love it.
This 36th Chamber
of Shaolin. That is a sick film.
I've written that down too.
Yeah.
So what do I have to watch? I have to watch A Better Tomorrow, Not One Less, and the 36th Chamber of Shaolin.
Because the 3 of them are so different from each other. It's so weird.
And there's no robots in any of these?
No robots in any of them, no. But,
I always ask my dad this because my dad always watches dramas and like foreign films and stuff, and he's always like, "Oh, you got to see this movie." I'm like, "Are there any robots in it?" That's always my question.
Which film you're saying? You should let me know. It might be quite cool. It's quite cool.
Yeah, man.
You know what? I sometimes, you know what I do, like to get inspiration. I ask like elders and family members about the films they used to watch as a kid. So there's a period of like I've watched loads of like 80s Bollywood. The 80s and 90s Bollywood. Awesome.
The thing about Bollywood, because now with the budgets they have, there's some truly wild stuff. My issue is I'm just not a fan of musicals, like in general.
But you know, the 80s and 90s, right? What you got to look at it is like, they're musicals, but they're just so sweet. The storyline is so sweet. It's so innocent, and the budget's not that big. I mean, it's very retro, like the stuff they wear and the way they act. That's where I take it from. And plus, I kind of imagine like my parents or my uncle or like some elder like watching it, thinking as a kid like it meant a lot to them. Maybe not now, but as a kid when they were young. And when I watch films, retro films, I just have that kind of idea, and I just love it.
Like I would watch more because I've seen some trailers lately of like some more recent sort of Bollywood movies where they'll do like full on.
No, don't watch the recent ones. They're pants.
But they'll do epic shit where like there'll be like these fight scenes and stuff that are like so out there.
Listen, I'll tell you one you need to watch, right? But it's very romantic. I don't know if it's DDLJ. I mean, the long word is Dilwale Le Jayenge. Dilwale, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Dilwale Dulai. Something like that. But if you put DDLJ, it's from the 90s, top movie. But it's really long. It's like 4 hours long. Oh, 3 hours long.
Aren't they all like 3 hours long? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah, the old ones are really long. Like this one is, I think it's 3 hours. It's not as long as.
Well, the new ones are too. Like I was watching clips from fucking 2.0. You know, the one where the guy like he's like a cyborg, and then like they forms the big ball of like 1,000 of them.
Don't watch the new ones. Don't watch the new ones. The pounds. What is that about the cyborg? No, don't watch it.
But the thing is, they will do these ideas that are so wacky that they are entertaining. Like there's this one historical epic, and there's like these like lions, and the guy like jumps off the one, and they're having like a sword fight in midair and shit. And like that's the stuff I'm like, dude, that is fucking awesome. But then when they break out into song, I'm just not a musical guy in general. Like regardless of
maybe we won't like the one I mentioned. Then it's a lot of dancing and music, and
even as a kid, like I was never into Disney or whatever, just because they just start singing. I'm just like, I'm not here for the singing. Like I mean, you know.
I know what you mean.
But I am here for cool music. So how about this? Let's listen to one more track, and then maybe we can wind down.
Yeah, cool.
Do you want to pick something?
Oh, for my own music?
Yeah, just anything, whatever you want to listen to.
Gosh, what do I say?
That's got to be a real easy one for you to answer.
No, it's not. Oh, I tell you what. I'll tell you a good one that not got overlooked, but like it's one of my favorite songs. Favorite one I made. I'm so sad because I'm saying it like I'm a fan of my own music. But anyway, there's one called Zen 44 on Voltrana album. I just loved making that track. One of my favorite tracks.
All right, cool. Then let's play that, and then we'll wind down. Isn't it Zen 4040?
4040, yeah.
All right. Well, this is Zen 4040 by Futurecop. All right, and that was Zen 4040 by Futurecop. Wait, is that how you say it, or do you say Zen 4040 or 4000?
Oh no, I don't know. I just 4040. I don't even think about it like that. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what it means. I just thought, oh, it'll sound cool if there's some numbers at the end. It looks like it's a space shuttle or something.
Yep.
That was it. Because the music, it gets a kind of like, it's got a really nice drive to it. It's it's got like an epic feel, and it's got something like that. So I thought, oh right, yeah, 4040 sounds like a space shuttle. It doesn't sound like a space shuttle at all, but I don't know, maybe at that time it did.
I like just sitting back and letting people talk and then see what happens.
But you can imagine all these people, like, if they're listening, they think, oh, Futurecop, I thought he was a really deep guy. He's a bit of a joker. No, I'm joking.
Oh, man, it's all good. They're going to find out that you're a Kung Fu master.
A Kung Fu master?
Yeah.
I'm not a Kung Fu master. I can't believe we spoke so much about Kung Fu. I didn't even think it was a big deal. Oh, man. That's hilarious.
But look, listen, it's been fun to chat with you. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
Talked about everything. There's nothing left anymore. No surprises anymore. There's no surprises on Futurecop. That was it. Done.
Well, what's coming up? You said you were working on something new?
A new album I'm working on, and it's a bit more poppier, a bit more dancier, got a bit more sampley stuff, like vocal chops and stuff. It's kind of upbeat. That's the best way I can say it.
Do you have any cool plans for today? What are you going to do when we're done talking?
Yoga. I'm not even joking. I sound like one of those funny people, but I'm actually going to do yoga, yeah.
So what does that mean exactly? You're just going to go do stretches?
Just do some stretching. No, it's like stretching, because the thing is I do a lot of gym, so I have to do a lot of stretching, but yoga helps me to stretch a bit more.
Yeah, my shoulder lately has been pissing me off. I just keep thinking of myself as a robot. I'm just like, I want oil. Like, I want someone to squirt oil in my shoulder joint or something, because I feel like that's what it needs.
Stretching. You need to do stretching and massages. There you go.
Yeah, I know. Everything takes time. Every time I sit down.
Trust me, I know. You don't want to know. Sometimes I watch a film and I'm stretching. That's what I do.
That's probably a good idea, though.
Yeah, it's good. Like, watch a film and just do all the like things you have to do, like stretching and stuff like that. I mean, when you get older, you gotta kind of do. I mean, the thing is, I do kung fu, I do a lot of stuff, so I gotta keep at it. If I don't, then like I'll get shoulder problems like I've got. So I gotta keep on doing it.
Yeah, it just it sucks that there's no easy solution.
There's no easy solution. No.
I mean, I know everyone gets swayed by, these stupid Instagram things and all these other where it's just like, oh, you just sign up for this program and everything will be all right, or eat this pill or do this, and everything is just, nonsense. No, you got to stretch for like an hour and you got to do this and that.
Yeah, you got to stretch for an hour, everything starts from the kitchen, you got to eat right. What is it? There's machines you stick on your stomach and it gives you a six-pack. Come on, that's just nonsense. I've seen that.
They electrocute you.
It's like some kind of like a futuristic alien machine just stuck to your stomach. It's just like vibrating. It looks odd, but it's just, yeah, you gotta do all the boring stuff, unfortunately.
Over here we had these infomercials from this guy called Dr. Ho.
Yeah.
This was like back in the fucking 90s though, where he had that thing that electrocutes your stomach and works out your abs, and it literally is just, it does a little shock.
Yeah.
And so it makes your abs tense up, and that's like the exercise. And I knew someone whose dad had one, and it like kind of burnt his belly.
Shit. Oh man, trust me, you can't trust those things.
Yeah, because like when he took it off, there was like marks from where the fucking electrodes were.
Oh no, that's bad.
Anyway, the point is, you got to put the time in.
You got to put the time in, unfortunately.
And Futurecop has definitely put the time in. This is me wrapping things up. He's been around since, the early 2000s making music, once with Pete by his side, but Pete's gone off to wherever Pete's gone to. I like just calling him Pete. That's fun. Just Pete. So then, when was it, like, when did officially, like, Pete was gone? Like, what year was that?
What year would it be now? Maybe 2018, 19, something like that. It was just like slowly fading away, kind of, because he'll come to gigs and stuff, and sometime, it's 2019, yeah, because we did a few gigs, and it was around that time, yeah.
Okay. So that's cool. So the point is...
he's still with us in spirit.
Yeah. Pete's a cool guy. Manzur's a cool guy.
I think, hopefully, I don't know.
That's... and there's going to be more Futurecop music coming, so that's cool. And I guess that's all there is. Yeah. Do you want to have some final words?
Thanks for having me. It was really cool talking to you. You're a very good interviewer, I'll tell you that. I've given you everything. I've given you everything. I've like told you like how pants we were at producing. I've given you everything, but you know, I think I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Well, it was fun to chat with you. It's always nice to talk to people who are around in the early days, you know.
And then, you know, thanks to, I never really get to say it because, you know, I don't do that many interviews, but like, yeah, thanks to all the fans. I get really nice messages about how the music helped them in this way and that way, and you know, without that, I mean, that makes me just keep on going. So yeah, thanks to all the fans all these years. There's people stuck by me for years, like since the beginning. So amazing. And all the synthwave crew, everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, listen, you have a lovely day, and enjoy your yoga and enjoy your kung fu and whatever else is going on. Eating healthy.
I try. It doesn't always go according to plan, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you take care, dude.
All right. Nice one. Thanks again. Cheers.
All right, and that was my chat with Futurecop. Hope you enjoyed that. Keep listening to Beyond Synth, the best synthwave radio station there is. We got lots of fun shows. For those of you paying attention, every week is a different show, and it's been a lot of fun to put together. And also, we're going to be doing more live streams as well. I don't have a schedule yet, but if you want to tune in to a live stream, just follow Beyond Synth on Twitch or on YouTube, because that's where they stream. The live stream show isn't Beyond Synth. It's called Andy at Desk, because it's me at a desk, but I am going to be doing interviews with people in the synthwave scene. But I've also got some interviews lined up with people outside the synthwave scene who just happen to be doing something I think is interesting. So I'll be talking to some game designers and people like that. So stay tuned to the stream. And then sometimes it's just me babbling for a few hours. It's kind of a gamble, but you know, you can tune in and have a good time, and that's what we like to do. So have a lovely week. Thanks for listening to the show. Tune in next time, and you're all cool.
Beyond Synth Radio is produced by Andy Last. Check the show notes for more information on the musicians featured on the show. Beyond Synth is made possible by listeners like you. Consider supporting Beyond Synth at patreon.com/BeyondSynth. Thanks for listening.